And the best thing about that, which I have learned, is that the problem, the issue of demographic dividend which country is having now, the primary solution is with the education system. And that is what the national education policy recognizes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the series of Quest for Better Futures. My name is Nikita Bengani, and I look at the skilling work at Quest Alliance, and I've been working with Quest Alliance for about 16 years now. I also anchor a network called Future Right Skills Network, which works at the intersection of policy and practice. And the intent is that how does it work closely with government systems to strengthen and support policies so that we can create education and skilling spaces that are more aspirational for young people going forward. So in today's episode, the intent is to bring the perspective of government systems on how government systems can play a role in preparing young people to navigate through these uncertain futures and also craft their preferred futures. So that's kind of what we want to open up today. And for this conversation today, I have a very special guest with me here. He's somebody who's worked very closely with education and skilling spaces for the past many years, very carefully crafting experiences for young people. As part of the Ministry of Skills and Entrepreneurship Development, I've also had the opportunity to work with him very closely, on various assignments, and it's been super amazing and very, very inspirational as an experience. So with this note, I'd like to introduce our guest for today. Welcome, sir. We have Shri Atul Kumar Tiwari with us, who is the former Secretary of Ministry of Skills Development and Entrepreneurship. He's a 1990 cadre IS officer from Karnataka. And also he has had many portfolios that he's held with the state of Karnataka as well as Government of India around overseas relations on rural and urban development in textiles. So yeah, a lot of experience he's had. So very, very warm welcome to you, sir. Yes. So sir, like I said, we wish to talk a little bit about government's role in preparing young people for the future and how do we really craft experiences that help them feel more confident and really give the autonomy and agency in the hands of young people. But before we go into the work that government is doing and wishes to do, I'd like to ask you the first question as, a little bit about your own journey of when you were young. What kind of thoughts you were navigating through? What were your confusions? What were your questions? What were your ideas? What were your dreams, your hopes? And how did you navigate through this amazing journey that you've had? I'm sure it's very different from what our young people are experiencing today. But what was it like back then, if you can talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, like any young person, there is always a sense of insecurity. And on the one hand, you are dreading the future, but at the same time, you're also anticipating the future. And when we are growing up in 1990, 89, 88, 99, 88, 89, 90, so my personal experience was that I was studying in St. Xavier's Ranchi University, and first the important thing was that our session was late, and our exams were being delayed. So one anxiety was how quickly the exams take place, and then what is that you wanted to do. So around me, the bright chaps like my brothers and some classmates, they were engineers. I went to doctors, and I was preferring a course in the law. So I was working on that direction. Then somebody told me that if you get into civil services, then you need not study again because you get a cushy job and then you can enjoy life. And how wrongly they were, because ever since then I have been a continuous journey for learning. But despite all these uncertainties and uncertain future, of course, one core thing was that taught me and that helped me, and that is what I would like to say in today's context also, is that the core thing, which is the cognitive ability to work hard, think laterally, and collaborate and question and find answers,
How did you decide that you want to do civil services? Because I know you studied a lot of different things, public policy, civil services, law as well is what you said.
No, I got into civil service only when I was BA History Honours. As I told you, our session was late. So when I went into Civil Services Academy, so people will say that I am MBBS, IIT and all that. And they will ask me, what are you? I said, I am BA History Honours. So I used to feel very shy. So later onwards, as you said, again, the continuous learning. So I did my MA in economics. Then I
And some of this you did after you finished
all
the
of these
services.
things are after.
That's
so
interesting.
now I did MBA. Then I
And
did
was that a part, like you were working and doing this parallelly?
No, you took a break during the period and went out for study tour, study leave. So we did a master's in public policy, then we did MPhil, then we did LLB. And our intention is to do PhD also sometime. So,
Yeah, you still did MPhil.
so it's a quest of continuous learning, you know. That's what we are talking about, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Relearning, reskilling, upskilling, that's what we are trying to do.
And did you have any mentors, sir, in the process? Somebody you would go to for...
I was lucky to have my father and my elder brother and some of the cousins also. They kept on inspiring. And asking a question, why did you took the civil services? It was because I knew that I study well. I know that I get good exams, good marks in examination. And you also did some kind of scenario analysis. What is the syllabus, what kind of questions, what is the tilt, etc. So it also required a lot of analysis.
Okay, sir, this was really great. I think this helps. I think shifting the gears a little bit, just, so sort of thinking a little bit about the skilling spaces now. I think what I want us to do is that if we go back to the independence times, right? Like, why were some of the skilling institutions set up? I remember like ITIs go long back at that point in time. So what was the intent? Why were some of these institutions being set up? What was the government thinking? What was the idea? If you could elaborate a little bit.
See, when we got independent and even now, I think our education system is based on what the colonial masters wanted. And it has often been commented that we wanted clerks and the pen pushers rather than the original thinkers.
Right.
So that part still continues to some extent. Right. And in the way we privilege degrees over competence and the skills, which is another societal issue which we have. And there are multiple ways of handling that. But as we are going for industrialization and they needed an industrial workforce, so that's why you'll find and that the ITIs, they have a lot of the, what we call designated trades, the manufacturing, trainer, fitters, turners, electrician, that kind of a thing. Right. And these are the core of all industrial activities. So that's where the ITI started, and I think the first ITI was somewhere in Nizamuddin, if I am correct, 1950s or something. Since then, we have moved quite a lot, and we have almost 15,000 ITIs, government as well as private. Not all of them are good also, but some of them are really, really good also. And they have become the mainstay of the skilling, long-term skilling as we call it. So the idea is that as the economy needs changes, so then the policies and the instruments have also changed. Now we are in a position that we require not only manufacturing, but we also require service industries, which require a little amount of 3 months, 6 months kind of a training also. But of course, there has to be a pathway for their future skilling and upskilling part also.
But if you could talk a little bit about, like, if we sort of go back 10 years, like, when MSD was set up and the Skill India mission was set up, before that, I think a lot of the skilling work was managed through various ministries and, HRD in some cases, MOLE in some cases. But what was the intent behind setting up a dedicated ministry for skilling and entrepreneurship? And if you can talk a little bit to the kind of work that has happened. We recently did a celebration of the 10 years of the ministry and the Skill India mission. And I think we saw a lot of conversations around the work, and it was very fascinating, but it'll be really good if you can talk about that work.
NSDC was set up not by but they were set up by the Department of Economic Affairs.
Yes.
As a kind of, what shall I say, development financial institution for the skilling part. So, as I told you that around that point of the trajectory of the nation, the skilling starts getting importance. Mm-hmm. And they found that it is something which requires to be given focus to. And whatever you talk about educational system, it has happened over many years. Mm-hmm. So their systems are in place. There, all the, what shall I say, episteme or ontology of the education is set up. Skill was also coming up into that direction. And then that was a time when the skill development was given a focus, and the primary idea was that there should be a specialized agency to look after or spearhead the skilling rather than the fragmented parts here and there in different ministries. Kind of the ecosystem which needs for the skilling to taken forward, that has developed. And so we have, since last 10 years, we had the ITI's number has increased, around 16 lakh people are coming out there. We have short-term skilling around 1.7 crore in the PMKY itself, all put together around 6 crores. But more important than that is that NCVT is there, our regulator is there. Then NSDC also done a lot of public-private partnerships. We have also found that many industries on their own, as part of CSR or otherwise, like your institution itself, they're also getting specialized on the skilling part. But since then, there have been certain changes, which are some of them are quite welcome. One is that we are looking like a continuum, So skilling is a part of the education work continuum. So it has to link with education, it has to link with the work or employment. That is one part. Yeah, and second thing is that it should also be aspirational as well as can be monetized in a better way. Third thing is that as I have seen, I worked for almost 5 years in this ministry in different capacities. The emphasis by the different ministries is also there that there should be a skilling part in all kinds of development efforts which we are doing. Yes. Whether it is the green hydrogen or AI or semiconductor, as well as textiles or water supply schemes or whatever. So every, what shall I say, sector or enterprise or the schemes or policies of the government, there is a skilling element. And I'm very happy that this kind of convergence and collaboration has increased tremendously over the last many years. And finally, we also realized in the society itself, as well as the employment area also, there is a more emphasis on the skills and the competence rather than on the mere degrees. And that is where one of the reasons which you are mentioning about the youth uncertainty, this is also that the youth is also realizing that degrees are not enough. And it needs to be supplemented or buttressed or topped with some kind of skilling, proven skilling, certified skilling. And that is where we are now.
And to what you said, sir, how do you see the role of industry in this entire thing? Because like you said, if skilling is the bridge between education and then you're also preparing young people to go into the world of work, and that world of work is shifting at the pace it is moving, what should then the role of the industry? Because I think in our work, we've also realized that if industry comes into the mix at the time of hiring, it doesn't help. Right? They need to come in a lot earlier where they're working closely with these skilling institutions on actually thinking about curriculum, thinking about training, the quality, the pedagogy, and how do we keep the training centers updated with latest equipments, machines, automations, etc. So how do you think like some of that is playing out currently in the way MSD is functioning and ITIs are functioning?
This has been often commented upon, but it's not something which the government alone can do it. And insofar as that the skilled persons, educated young people are being employed by the private sector industries, they have a role to play. Yeah. And you have very rightly pointed out that it starts right from the beginning. And this is where we are moving towards, like your organization. It has been funded by the private organizations, but you're doing a very specialized between the cusp of the education and the skilling part. Mm-hmm. Many big industries, they have their own internal skilling part as well. And it's not that systems are not in place. For example, for the ITI's job roles which we are designing, there's also a trade body. Yes. For example, if you are, as an NCVT approves any skills qualifications, it also has to be approved by at least 20 companies. Yes. Sector Skill Council has to be there, Trade Committee has to be there, the concerned ministry has to be there. So this kind of collaborative spirit is there. Mm-hmm. You see everywhere. The trend is that the whatever we expected as a proportion of investment turning into the jobs, that is changing. So while we are being automated, AI or otherwise, the skill required is also changing. Yes. But the core of the issue, as I said, I started in the beginning, is that whatever happens, AI, etc., we still need in a country like us, in contextualized way of thinking, we require a huge core of people who will do the regular work. At the same time, as the economy progresses, then there will be higher level of movement towards the more technical and more cerebral kind of activities. But the skill requirement will remain the same. So the industry, there is also a complaint that the industry is not doing enough. And some of them will be quite well placed also, because I think we need to see as a government, like we have this, the government incentive, the new scheme which was announced by Honorable Prime Minister, in which if they take the new recruits, they will get some amount of EPF and other advantages. So the primacy was to give industry. And they have to be given some kind of autonomy. They also see given some kind of governance system. And then only industry will come forward and start investing their time. In the existing setup, whatever we're trying to do, whether it is the IMC, where the industry is part of the ITI management system, or expecting industry to do this and that, it will only be peripheral. So industry has to get into this. In the front of it, with the government, the support around that system, and the kind of ITI modernization which we are thinking about, as you will come to know more about it, that is the industry-led, government-owned, aspirational skilling center. That is what we are trying to do.
Yeah. And you think, sir, there is enough incentive the industry feels in engaging with the process like this, where they're able to sort of contribute, they're able to give time, they're able to really be in the driving seat of driving the skilling agenda for the country along with the government, of course. Like, do you think that they are seeing enough incentives?
No, I mean, certainly, I won't say the industry, but the government should also do more of that. But the things have been changing. Now we find that industries, as well as the government, they're realizing the primacy of the skills. But our biggest problem is the structural problem. The way we have so much informal economy.
Yes, and also the amount of young people, the labor intensity.
There is traditional skilling which is required, and the kind of the fear which they have. That if they skill, they will shift jobs and go somewhere else, like the attrition rates. So there are certain structural impediments in giving the skilling the primacy of focus, which should be there. But insofar as the big companies are concerned, and larger MSMEs, etc., certainly they also realize that having a skilled workforce is going to enhance their productivity and efficiency.
That's great, sir.
But there's no simple solutions to all this.
I guess there can't be simple solutions to complex problems in this world. But so for me, if I was to ask you, sir, that if you were to summarize your experiences of having worked with MSD, you said almost for 4-5 years, you spent time with the ministry. What would be your top 4-5 learnings or insights, having been the driving seat of the ministry and really crafting the skilling agenda for the country?
The one thing which we realized, and perhaps it was also accelerated by the new education policy, is that if you have to do skilling, skilling per se in isolated view is not going to happen. First of all, you have to improve. There are two improbables which the skill ministry doesn't have. On the kind of the people who are being educated from the system and the people who will be employed, industry side. We don't have any incentive to give the industry. We don't have anything to do with education. So we are stuck somewhere in the between, right? That's why we call it as a part of continuum. So the skilling has to improve. Then both these front end and back end.
Yeah, or backward linkages and forward linkages have to happen still.
And the best thing about that, which you have learned, is that the problem, the issue of demographic dividend which country is having now, the primary solution is with the education system. And that is what the national education policy recognizes. The another area of concern is that the gap. See, only around 5 crore students go into the higher education. But 5 times that they passed from the class 10 and 12. Then there's so much of dropouts there. So we have to have some mechanism, maybe class 11, 12, which may happen through the national education policy, the curriculum and other infrastructure associated with it, that we equip them for the employment per se. And now that we have credit system, UPR system and all that, so there has to be a multiple entry, multiple exit, that kind of system. So the groundwork, a lot of work has happened in the last 3-4 years. And when the parents and students also realize that whatever they are learning has some resulted employment potential, then things will also start happening. The biggest problem which we are having, if you're saying the education is so important, if you're saying that whatever teaching education has to link the industry needs, We need a system whereby the academia and industry come together. And there has to be some way which is beneficial and both parties feel incentivized to talk to them together. It has to be other than the sector skill councils. It has to be somewhere, something else, something more local, something more potent, something more effective. And that is where we need to work. I foresee that in the coming years, we'll find more and more the so-called degree courses. Like I had my history honors. We had studied all about the history. But now this will be getting more and more focused on the professions which they may venture into, so that when boy or girl, they do MA, BA, BCom or whatever, BSc, they have whole avenues to open.
It also becomes more application focused of why am I learning and how will I use something.
And of course, the present generation is much more smarter. They have this. We didn't have the mobile. We didn't have the laptops. We didn't have internet at that point of time. So they are much more educated. But that is where they require some sense, something to make sense of the plethora of information surrounding them.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of what you said, sir, I can completely relate to all of it. And I think especially this whole point around career, and how young people are thinking about career exploration, leading to some kind of informed decision making, to then getting prepared for those careers, also will reduce this aspiration skilling mismatch sometimes.
In fact, I was looking one of your earlier podcasts where there are two young people, whether you were talking to them.
Yes.
So there's one lady who's saying that she has a small brother and then another chap, and they say started learning everything newly. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, when we go, I used to go as secretary and visit all the ITI, etc., and talk to these students there. I mean, the drive to do something better, no? And like spawns, they want to learn, and whatever opportunity is there. I mean, if you have these kinds of clients, only thing is just create conditions for them. And that was so inspiring listening to those young people. I think you should do more.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for taking the time to listen to them, because I think sometimes the young people also feel that their voices are never reaching the government, like, how they can get the government to do more things. But I have more questions around this,
Sure.
as we move around. But I think this is a good segue in also talking a little bit about the young people. Like, I think if we can shift the gears a bit. Who are these young people? So I think a couple of things, and we have a research team. You met Bhawna and a whole team also yesterday. So I think we've also we do meet them regularly in ITIs and schools, but we also take time to go and meet them in their community spaces and really have some of these open-ended conversation around what are young people thinking, what are they feeling, what is keeping them, excited, what is giving them anxiety. So some of the young people spoke about, and we know this because we meet them regularly, is also like, this whole anxiety around, will I get a job, after I finish school and skills? What kind of a job will it be? Will I get it closer to my home? Will I have to migrate? Will that job pay me well to be able to live in another city if I have to migrate? I think then added to this is this whole idea of AI and automation, which is not helping. So what we've learned through our research is that these young people don't know enough about AI. They're also, like, while they're using AI in different ways without knowing that they're using AI. And then there are all kinds of inhibitions they have when we sort of unpack what AI is, that, what kind of biases will AI create? Will it exclude certain kind of communities? Will it be unfair to certain people? Will it take our jobs away? Will it start to govern? Is there expectation for everybody to be as perfect as AI? And humanization basically will go off and everything will become like, this very automated, perfect space. So there are a lot of these anxieties that young people are sitting on. So between all of this and all the conversations that are happening in India globally, how do we then look at young people and their preparedness? How do we keep them motivated through all of these conversations as government systems and organization, when they're experiencing this on an everyday basis?
I don't think there is a straightforward answer to that, because what if the AI is doing is also a big, I would say, universal ethical issue as well. I mean, there are 2-3 ways which we can do it, like what we just launched. Our Honorable Minister of State, Independent Judge Jan Chaudhary, launched a SOAR,
Yes.
which is about the AI for the school children. It's like a pilot scheme.
Yes.
So NCVT, Dr. Nina Pavja is there, so she worked in METI, and they designed with the Microsoft and other such companies that AI for all, AI for many, AI for few.
We also did some AI for all curriculum.
Saying that the AI is something which will inhibit them, perhaps we need to show them in some structured way, and there's a lot of things afoot in the school education system where every class there will be something on the fundamentals of the AI. Yeah. So AI is something which you should not be afraid of. So that is the point number one. Point number two is we also have to test them that how you are already using AI. So that is also by way of different examples. Again, it is part of the curriculum and exercise, etc. A third is how you can use AI to make yourself better. So it also depends on how do you design our syllabus, If you take some credits for this and some credit for that, then it also incentivizes students to learn about that. Yeah. And it will be a challenge. But I think if you're going in a, like the Professor Tully was talking about in your second episode, and she was saying that how do we meet with the future uncertainties? So she said very, very logically. He says that if you go in a logical, reasoned, empirical way, there are certain things which we can do. So we are preparing ourselves as best as we can because you have no way of knowing what the future is going to be. So again, I'm coming back to the core strength. This is the core thing which we should have, we allowed our young people to have is a good nutrition, good education, good cognition skills, and giving them opportunities to test them. So this is the element which is going to work everywhere. And this is how, by doing the core fundamental things which make up the society, every units of the society. So that is where we fit the AI, there is where we fit the employability skills, there we fit the financial literacy, there we fit the communication skills. That is where things are going to have a lot of importance. Yeah. And that requires, we have to create conditions and make our youth confident by giving them whatever we can as part of the syllabus, as part of the environment, as part of the incentivizing system, as part of the way the families and societies are coming up, and giving them a sense of what is happening and what they should do it. And young people, whatever they are, they have very fine sense of smell and they smell it and do on that side. So I'm very hopeful on that. Yeah.
I have some ideas, but I'll come to that maybe in a bit. But also related to youth anxieties, another point that I wanted to unpack with you, especially of the women learners or young people who are women in our system. I think all these anxieties anyway exist with young women as well, but I think added to this is also anxieties around, again, having to fit into a certain frame of success, and also like even today when we go to institutions, we see still a lot of our, skilling institutions and even like society at large thinks that women are cut out to do certain kind of jobs, certain kinds of trades. Even when they try to break the glass ceiling, they do get sometimes pulled back by their families. In some cases, they get pulled back by industry. So even if an electrician as a woman is, graduating from systems, sometimes industries are not willing to give them jobs because they don't want to walk that extra mile to provide the facilities. So there is a lot of these added anxieties, especially when it comes to women around the kind of work they want to do as opposed to what they end up with. So how do we also, how do you think some of this is being addressed in the way things are being designed and crafted, even in the new scheme, if some of this is being thought about, sir? Yeah.
No, one thing is certain that we can always say that the female participation in labor has increased. We also found in the ITIs, the proportion of the women students is also increasing. I have seen in numerous ITIs where the typical male kind of traits, we find girls also doing us very proud. And it's short-term skilling also, they are there. But I think like the skilling which we have the issue is also about the female participation. It is something which is much more beyond.
Yeah.
Beyond
it's at the intersection of society, market, and government in some sense.
So, so the societal, the kind of the way the society thinks is also our inhibiting factor. And so the way the trade, way the employment and the work is changing, that is also making it more inducive for the female participants. For example, apprenticeship. Earlier we used to find that we were only designated trade, manufacturing trade. The moment we brought this service trade, then we realized that the female participation is increasing quite a lot. Yes. Then we are also doing a very good pilot study in the skilling ministry was with the WCD, Women and Child Development Department. So they have this aspirational districts where the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Andolan is there. So we thought that bringing the hierarchy of the WCD, like the CDPOs and the child welfare officers together, using their network also, to mobilize the girls. And we insisted that there should be at least 50%, and if not more, non-traditional livelihoods. And we faced a lot of problem also.
Yeah.
Because in some villages, they will say that no, they would like their girls to do only those women-specific roles. So it also requires some amount of advocacy, some amount of mentorship, some amount of engaging with them.
Did we engage with that part, like engaging with family?
So we included with the CDPOs and tried to do. We said we're nothing doing. So we conceded some part because it was starting in the beginning. But the idea was that once the women, we are focusing the girls right from the Padhao, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, so that we increase the female percentage in our population and their participation in the economy. So some kind of skilling setup is also required. And if you can veer it towards the non-traditional livelihoods, not exactly stitching and the copa and that kind of things. So that is one thing is happening, and I think the results will show quite a lot. Then we also did a skill impact bond with the private institutions. And there we found that the focus, the outcome was designing how many females they get the training and they get employment. And the results are very, very impressive. And some of them are very non-traditional also. They require that they are secure. They require that the training place is conducive to them in terms of lights, in terms of toilets, in terms of...
Even just the sense of safety and all of that you get.
And in terms of the trainers, which are some of them are the female, etc. So that is shifting. I'm not saying it will happen immediately, but generally as a society also, there is a greater realization that the girls, they have to come forward more. So I'm sure that it has to move. The society also has to move. Society, families will move. They'll send their girls only if things are better in terms of transport. Like we have the free transfer for the women in Karnataka, and many other states also doing that. So these are small things which are going to add up and lead this movement. And I have no doubt in saying that as we go ahead, we'll find more and more female participation because there's no other way.
Yeah, it's 50% of our population. So also, so you said that all of this is going to add up and take it to a future which is definitely a lot more hopeful and better. And I think building on that, I think some set of questions that I had around that was saying that what do you think would be government's vision of a preferred future for young people in India? If you were to imagine, if let's say you moved into 2047, 100 years since we became independent, what would be the government's vision of that future? And if you can help visualize that, if you had all the powers in your hand to make that future happen, what would that look like according to you?
You like India to be developed. India can be developed only if our human population is happy, and when our young people are engaged productively, but at the same time they are paid well, in a good remunerative terms, that there are conditions in which they can go ahead and keep on upscaling themselves and enlarging their competence levels. There is one system. I personally would like to see that we make the education system in such a way, as I told you, with the industry and the other employers, that we move towards a direction where the people are and parents are encouraged to ensure their children get some skilling, vocational, VET, whatever, which is remunerative, which creates a kind of propelling force so that there is a movement where if there is importance on degrees or academic learning, there's as much, if not more, on the competence level or hunar or the skills which we have. And only if we see this kind of combination, then we'll find that that will also lead to an increase in the employment rate. It will also lead increase in the female participation, and also lead a very specialized kind of skilling. So going ahead, things will get more and more complex, manufacturing-wise, service-wise, technology-wise, and they require very specialized kind of skills. And if you're seeing, say, 20 years hence, 22 years hence, this is the time when we start creating the propitious circumstances in which these people go there.
And so, would you imagine a future where there is a lot more greater autonomy with young people? I think oftentimes when we also go into the field and speak to young people a lot more, I think what we keep hearing is that there's also somebody else crafting our futures and thinking about what we should be doing, as opposed to if we were to keep them in the driver's seat, where if they had an ability to visualize the future they would want for themselves and almost do some kind of a backcasting, saying, if this is where I want to reach, what do I do today? So it's almost like, your idea of future informing your present, as opposed to saying our actions of present will tell me where I land in the future. So if we were to just do this antithesis a little bit and think of it like that if we were to give young people the autonomy to imagine the future they would wish to see for themselves and then be in the driver's seat to create it starting today, how do you think the government systems and what we can do to make something like this happen?
Now, if you realize, now itself the youth, they are more agency than we used to have. They less reliance on having a paid full-time jobs. Now, one thing which you find very disconcerting is that young people are more interested in going for this gig economy rather than going for a manufacturing thing and doing their hand dirty. And it's not something which is not happening in India. Even Elon Musk has said that they need some the plumbers or electricians, etc. So how do we do that? Manage that. That is going to be a big challenge now. So as a society, certainly we like to give more agency to them. But then the societal needs also there. We need to convince them and move them certain direction also. So that is, I think, will be the big policy makers and as a society challenge. That how do we do not give our agency everything to some people. At the same time, within that, we give youth some agency. At the same time, we also win them away from something and move them certain directions. I don't think it will be churlish on my part to say that I have any vision or solution. I think as a society, all you will grapple, our children will grapple with this kind of scenarios.
And I think sometimes to what you said, and something that we keep thinking about here as well is, I think sometimes in India, this whole aspiration attached to vocational education and skills. I think why in India a young person doesn't want to be aspiring to become a plumber or an electrician, whereas maybe in a Germany or in any other country, it's not so bad. Like people, if they are interested in hand skills, they are as well paid. So I feel like that's also a big part that plays out where, how do we make skills more aspirational? And I think a lot of this is to do with societal mindsets. But if you also break it down further, you realize that this is to do with the remuneration at the end of the day, right? If I'm getting paid 15,000 rupees as I'm graduating as a plumber versus as an MBA, I'm starting with a 10 lakh rupee job, there is that which plays out, right? So, and I know everybody shouldn't become an MBA and we need plumbers, but why are plumbers not paid well is the question. And I think,
No, there are 2-3 things on that. That is what we're trying to address in their ITI revitalization schemes. See, what we are trying to do, give skilling, it has to be needed by the market, by the industry. B, it has to be remunerative. At the same time, where they are being taught also has to be interesting. So that's why I say aspirational skill centers. We had gone ahead and made ITIs and engineering colleges and medical colleges and nursing colleges and all that. They have become very attractive. That kind of focus is also required for skilling side. See, skilling is also attractive. Skilling is also aspirational. And as a parent, I should feel happy if my child go to Indian Institute of Skills or something that sort of thing, which are very modern, very well taught, good managed, excellent pedagogy, and all kind of things. And whatever they learn is actually certifiable, measured, and it is needed by the industry. So this is a very difficult thing to do it, but that's where we started. So tomorrow, if we have 1,000 ITIs in all over India, with the industry support and industry leading it, and they become a kind of, shall I say, IITs of the skills, So if you have the 10 existing courses which are revitalized, remodernized, and given a good methodology and pedagogy, and second, you also have the new courses available for some part. And slowly you start, as the need arises, giving the flexibility and autonomy to the management to design courses for themselves. So that's why I said it all has to work on the 3 principles. One is we require good infrastructure. Second time, we have to give autonomy to them as meeting the local needs, industry needs. And there has to be governance reform in the sense decentralization. You set the criteria and allow them to go ahead and do it. And don't judge them beyond that. If we follow these three kinds of things, then all our scaling, ITA, for example, the mainstay, that is going to change. And the same model will be employed by the short-term skillings. And we're also allowing that ITAs will also have the short-term skilling part, industry skilling part, workshop parts. Everything has to come together as a part of equation.
So do you see a role of civil society organizations, industry, and working with the government closely in some
there is no government alone will be able to do all that, because you are our feedback mechanism. You are the mechanism through which we get to hear what is actually happening by different way of statistical methods, survey and reports and all that. And you also the voices, So whatever, in fact, in my earlier ministry, we used to have a very open door, and we used to engage with the different stakeholders again and again and again and again. And it is going to be a continuous process. And I would say that Quest Alliance, they have done stellar work in this direction, and maybe you can be a little bit quicker. But because we always work in some deadline part. But otherwise, whatever I've known about you for the last 4 or 5 years, I think one thing I'm assured of is a very quality thing and very robust way of reasoning. So the philanthropic companies come forward and fund this. I think this is a much better. But it doesn't prohibit the companies for investing themselves. For example, many companies have their own training partners. Yes. For example, the ITAs, we were speaking around 35 big companies had agreed to come forward and take over the ITAs as to start with. So that is also one part. So I think it has to work in a much more fashion, but there has to be a mechanism, and I don't think that we need to be vainglorious about that, but I think what the private sector and your institutions, CSO organizations are doing, what the government are doing, ultimately they are complementary. Yes. And we should create conditions that complementarity remains and remains alive and kicking.
Absolutely. And I think that's also the conversations we keep having internally, that how do we set up government policies for success is really what we should lead with as a mandate, right? So, and I think that's really the intent. So, sir, one of the other questions I had is that we were also talking to young people about their vision for future and how do they imagine their future if they had all the power, the question I asked you. And I think they came up with some very interesting responses, and especially, I think, and this was also part of the research that we're trying to do with them, saying that with all this automation coming, there's obviously a lot of anxiety. But if you use anxiety as an instrument for transformation and get them to think a little bit more hopefully, they came up with some very interesting responses, right? Like things like, they talked about building a platform where how do they hold the local governance responsible for their action. So if they raised a complaint or they raised a request, there is some real-time data available on what is being done, is this been closed, what is the action taken, what is the benefit. So, some of this to improve governance were some of the ideas. They also spoke about saying that if we were to send our youth voices to the government, is there a platform that can be created using AI where we can voice our ideas, people can choose and vote on those ideas, and the best ideas then get represented in maybe a town hall space where there is government, where there's young people, and there is more conversation happening between the decision makers and young people. So some of those ideas were there, and even like some very if you talk to young people who are like very embedded in the community, some of them spoke about the fact that can AI enable equitable distribution of water. Sometimes, some sections of the society get the water more easily, some of them really have to run around, and can some of this be manned through AI. Women spoke about the fact that how if you could use AI better to support the process of child delivery, can there be AI wombs, for example, where a child could grow as opposed to within women, because that also sets them a little bit behind in the journeys, right? So a lot of interesting ideas. And I think what we were talking about is that if some of these ideas have to be fueled and create like spaces for like what can we do as a system to create these spaces where young people can really give life to these ideas, work on them, create an entrepreneurship space to actually build them, to convert them into some kind of solutions that the society can use. So any thoughts around that?
The one underlying thing in what people are saying is that they are seeing potential in the AI. And they're also contextualizing. For example, a village person is saying that water should not go to that water more than this area, or women, or something like that. So if you're taking it forward, then certainly there has to be a mechanism. And for example, we have this, lot of people have started the incubation centers, startup centers, like Atul Tinkering Lab is one example, in which 50,000 are going to come to these, the schools and colleges, etc. Many other departments are also having this kind of thoughts. We have hackathons, and we allow the students to come forward and do it by the METI and other. You're also part for some hackathons, which you are also part of that. So I think there has to be a method, and what we are trying to do, as I explained to you, there has to be more, and there has to be some kind of curation of also that. So if I may say that My India, there is a youth affairs. They have one forum is there, in which they are trying to encourage the young leaders also. That's the vision of Honorable Prime Minister also, and that is one forum, online forum, where these people can put forward their issues, and that get curated and put into different departments. That can be done. There's also a good idea which the Niti Aayog can do it. They also have one or two verticals where they are trying to this kind of idea exchanges, etc. And certainly there has to be more formalized kind of idea exchanges between the youth and etc. Actually, when I am in the government, I realized the dearth. For example, if I compared, say, if I'm working as a Zilla Panchayat executive officers, which write with the Gram Panchayat, Taluk Panchayat, Zilla Panchayat, you get a lot of ideas. But at the top central government policy level, there has to be some via media where all these voices, however, unvarnished or filtered, whatever, they reach to the right domain ministries, so they can take it forward.
Yeah, and I think that's what young people want, is what we keep hearing. Okay, so sir, last segment, and these are rapid fire questions. I'll just fire questions at you. So think you're in 2047. That's the premise. What if every MSDA decision had to be cleared by a youth advisory team? Would policy decisions become innovative or more chaotic?
I think this will not, this question cannot be put only to the skill ministry. Why not education?
Sure, sir, you can represent both. Government in general.
No, I think going ahead, it's a idea in principle very nice, but then all of them which are good in principles may not be so in practice. Typical government answer. But
what is the hope, sir? You're in 2047. It's not, let's not get bogged down with current, but I'm saying really
because 2047 will come tomorrow. Don't think it's too far away. And whatever we're trying to do at that time, it has to have some basis now.
Yes, exactly, right?
Yeah, so if we create some basis here, which is replicable, which is found useful, then we can take it forward to that point.
But what's the hope, sir? Is it chaos, or is it will lead to innovation?
I think I'm always siding with the youth, and I would say it will lead to innovations.
My second question, what if every ITI graduate was guaranteed a job? Would industries invest more in training quality, or will it lower their standards, or completely it'll reshape the skilling system?
Now there is no certainty now in this world. Earlier you just find that all the ITIs, everybody used to get a job. When we were growing up, if you go to engineering college, your job is ensured. It's no longer that. Right. So what has changed? Change is that one thing, either one of them has been static, or one of them are not changing in the same rate as they should. So maybe the industry's requirement has changed quite a lot. The engineering courses have remained the same. So this is the conundrum. This how if both things work together, then it will benefit both sides, and then it will lead to the improvement in the industrial output as well as the skill required.
My third question, what if in 2047, ITI supported young people throughout their career journeys? Would they be spaces of continuous learning and growth, or it's too much institutional control that we're exercising on young people through ITIs?
I think we should be allowed, my view, if I understand you correctly, if you're talking about agency of the youth, so we have to create conditions around to that agency to materialize, and positing all these things into one institution may not be correct. because many people will have their different capabilities, different scenario, different contexts. So I think we should delink that and create conditions whereby, by way of, as I said, credits and multiple entry, multiple exit, and having a system where whatever work you do, that also gives you credit. Then you educate yourself, then learn something, short-term courses, long-term courses. That is kind of scenario will much better than privileging ITIs to handle it throughout the lives of the students.
Okay, my fourth question. What if every job had to pass a climate audit? Would we see industries shutting down or a lot more green sectors booming, or will there be like job losses, or what will be if we were to imagine a future like that?
I think we should need to do a climate
Audit.
audit of all the jobs. For example, any society, if you say this plastic is banned
Huh.
or this motor engine is banned, so there are certain industries which are going down. No? New industries are coming in. So this is a continuous
they'll
process.
evolve.
Yeah.
What if in 2047 all industries had gender reservation? Would that make workplaces more efficient, or would that cause more friction?
See, reservation in Indian context is very loaded term, right? So there will always be, quite strident views this side and that side. Insofar as we are trying to see that we have more women in the workforces, they will create conditions conducive for bringing that. And that has to start with the way our society is structured, the way our workplaces are safe, and the way the women feel happy and protected to move around. That is more important than just rather than giving them some space.
Super. It was a fantastic conversation, sir.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much for engaging with this conversation so beautifully.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you making the time to be here with us.
Thank you, Negi.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.